Okay, everybody, we finally got through all the basic stuff. Hopefully we know how to move around in 3D Studio Max a little bit, and we're starting to learn how to model a little bit. But the best way to learn is always by working on an actual project. So let's get started on that. This is the fun part. First, we need to learn how to bring in our guide drawings, whether it be CAD or PDFs or just hand sketches. We got to bring something in to be our guide, something to draw to. I'm going to use a sketch that I made real quick and real simple, and we're going to use that going forward, but I'm also going to discuss how to use the other types of guide drawings. One thing we need to do first, depending on what your setup is, if you already installed V-Ray, your renderer might be set to V-Ray here in the render setup button. Assign renderer. For now, let's just make it the default scanline renderer. This comes with Max, so I know everybody has that. And for what we're about to do, it really doesn't matter what kind of material we're using. So if you take a standard material, make sure it's set to standard here. You can click on it. It'll give you all your different options here. Standard is the most basic. And again, everyone should have that. Now, I don't want to go into a deep lesson about materials yet because we'll get to that later. But just follow me. In the diffuse slot, click on it. Go to Maps, Standard, Bitmap. Now, I've navigated to the folder where I have my sketch saved. If I just click on it like that, bring it in. Now if we double click on the material slot, you'll see my sketch there. This is a swatch of our material. And by the way, I've saved this sketch with the supplemental materials for this lecture, so you can download it as well and follow right along with me. Inside this bitmap that I've placed in the diffuse slot, you can view the image like that. And like I said, I drew this pretty quick. Not my best sketch ever, clearly. And then we will, let's see, make sure use real world is off. Set it to tiling 1 and 1. And we'll see what that does in just a second. Okay, let's close this for now. Let's draw a little rectangle. And make it, we could either right click and let's do that. Right click, convert to edit poly. Is that what we want to do? Yeah, that'll work. Now if we go back into our materials, hit the material editor button on our main toolbar. Go here, and with this polygon selected, hit this button here, assign material to selection. Boom. Now also in the bitmap, okay, so this is our overall material. We go inside this bitmap here, and if you click this button here, show standard map and viewport, that means it'll show up on our object. If we put this material on this object, it'll show this particular bitmap, this one right here. But we've got to map it first. So let's hit our UVW map modifier, or go up here to the modifier list in the modifier tab, UVW map, and now you can see it showing up. Let's tumble around a bit. In fact, okay, we can close this down and let's go to the top view so we're looking directly at it. As you can see, this looks a little too blurry. So one thing that we need to do is go into render setup again, and there's something here called bitmap proxies. If you go here on the common tab and go to setup of the bitmap proxies, can enable proxy system, make it full of the original size of the bitmap. And then that makes it so that's displaying at full resolution. Okay, now when you have a sketch like this, you need to make sure that you have something to base your scale on. Since I did this sketch myself, I know that I want each one of these modules of my house. This is the floor plan. Hopefully this will make a little more sense as we go along, because it's not a great sketch. But I did it fast for the purposes of demonstration, and it will kind of show us that you can use almost anything to draw to help as a guide when you're drawing. So I want 20 feet by 20 feet. Now I can scale this so that one of those sections I have ends up becoming 20 feet by 20 feet. Now, one thing you need to do is make sure that, let's move this down in the z-axis so that my rectangle is in front of it. That way we'll always make sure and see the rectangle. You can kind of see it there. And actually, I hit F3 just now to turn off the shading. If I select this rectangle, make it, enable it in renderer, just go into the modify tab, enable in renderer, enable in viewport. Let's make it really thick so we can always see it for sure. Now go back into shaded mode, and there you go. Now we move this into place here, and let's just keep scaling it until it fits. One thing we can do here, that's about right there. Now we need to scale it in this direction. That's almost it right there. Okay, so I've got my 20 by 20 squares. So this thing is kind of all scaled now. Okay, so I now have a floor plan that's to scale. Now, how are we going to get the elevation? Well, we can, one thing we can do, since this is an edit poly, is we can go in. Now, what I want to do here is still show that image with the mapping, even though I'm going to edit the poly. So I can hit this, which is show end result on off. So that's basically applying this modifier even though so it's showing it as if the modifier is on even if you're down here in the edit poly. You can take this now, take the vertices and move them up just like that. Take these vertices, move them over, because we don't need that. Now if we copy this, let's go into here and let's again show end result, and let's get just that front elevation there. Just like that. Now we have a nice front elevation. Let's copy it again. And because we're keeping that same UVW map on there, everything's remaining at the same scale as the original one. So let's go into here, show end result, and we want to expose that, we've gone too far over there, expose that side elevation. You probably couldn't even tell it was a side elevation, but that's what it's supposed to be. Now everything's going to be to scale here. So this is one way of doing it. There's a lot of ways of doing it, but the thing is, you got to make sure that everything is the same scale. Then you can line them all up and draw to it. Now, if you were going to do CAD, you do the exact same thing, but what you do is import file. Let me navigate and see if I've got some good CAD to bring in. Okay, I have this CAD drawing, and I went to import and find a DWG file, and let's see what happens when it comes in. One thing that's important when you're dealing with CAD is to make sure you take out all the blocks and all the hatches and any information you don't need, because it bogs down 3D Studio Max really bad. So you want to make it as efficient as possible. You can see it already taking a long time importing. Okay, I hit OK when it was importing, and I just used the defaults. And here you can see these come in basically as splines. See, that's an editable spline. You won't want to edit it at all. You're just using it to draw to. Now the nice thing with CAD, of course, is that you can snap to it. So what I usually do is bring this in, put it on a frozen layer. This floor plan you can put down, so you can draw on top of it. So let me just show you as an example. Let's just freeze this individually. Freeze selection. Now you can take this, go to lines, go to 2.5 snap. Quickly I'll explain. 2.5 snap will be drawing on a Z of 0, but it'll be snapping to this floor plan even though it's below Z of 0. It's at negative 47.6, so it's down below, but we'll be drawing on the 0 plane. And if you set up these, if you right click on your snaps, you can go to what you want to snap to. If you're snapping to CAD, you always snap to a vertex. That's what all these little points are on this thing. And then you can just draw right onto, well, trace right over your CAD. So CAD is the nicest thing to use because you can draw right onto it. And you can see this was drawn at the 0 plane up here, and the CAD remains down there so they don't get in each other's way. And obviously you can take this elevation, set it up like this. You can take it and rotate it 90 degrees. This is where the snap would be nice. Can't get it. Rotate along the x-axis 90, or was it negative 90? Nope. Undo. Okay, now you have a front elevation that when you go to the front view you can draw right to again. You want to make sure that it's behind, it's at less than 0 in the y-axis here, so that when you draw, I'll show you again, freeze selection. Okay, we're way over here now. And actually, you want to set this up so that the ground plane is right where we were drawing the ground before, right there. So that ground plane is at 0. Freeze it again. And then you can just start outlining all this stuff. Snapping to all the vertices. Oh, that's a bad one there. Okay. Now what I would do is right click on go into vertices mode, select all these, make them corners like we've done before, and then take these two and make them Bezier corners, and then start adjusting, right, so that it's matching that. And you can see, okay, something's not right there. So this is what I was talking about. You want to make sure that this is back here behind where you're drawing in the front mode. That way this, you can always see it in front of that. So then if you extruded this, you know, that'd probably be like an 8-inch thick wall. And there you go. There's your first wall. So you can see CAD is nice and clean. You can snap right to it. And then you just have to do put elevations on all sides and draw to them, and then just line them all up on this floor plan, so that wall I would just drew I would bring right up to there, because that's where it matches on the floor plan. And eventually, as you start building all the elements of these things, you have a building that appears. But like I said, we're going to use the sketch, so in the next video I'm going to put that together for you and we'll move forward from there.